Ready? All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into making maquettes today. You ready?
Yeah.
So a maquette is a miniature model of a sculpture. And it's an actual vocabulary term, maquette, M-A-Q-U-E-T-T-E with a little French accent on the end. It's a French word that means a model. So for these maquettes though, we are going to start by making them solid. They're not going to be fired. They need to be between 4 and 6 inches tall. And they need to then be, let me say it in a different way. The coil-built sculptures you make based on these maquettes need to be at least twice the size of the maquettes. So we're enlarging them by a factor of at least 2. You can go by 2.5, you can go by 3. 2 is good because it's big enough and it's still small enough to be easy to store, not use up too much clay. And then if something terrible happens, it's not a lot of work to redo if you have to undo something, right? There are students every year that make gigantic pieces on this project. I'm not going to say you can't, but I'm going to try to discourage you just because it's risky. It's difficult to store. If you end up having to store your work out on these front shelves, it's not guaranteed to be safe all the time. So it's a risk you have to assume. So 4 to 6 inches, and these are all in that category. But I'm going to show you how to make one of these. We are going to be working from observation. Right now we're going to be working from observation of the drawings that you annotated yesterday, both your mug shots and the diagrams of the skulls. So you made all those notes about where the peaks of the curves are, where the changes in directions were. You studied closely each curve and where it went. Well, now we're going to translate that into this piece. And before I start, you guys remember the head. If this is one width, how many heads wide are the shoulders usually? How many heads wide are my shoulders? Count right now.
2.
3. Here's 1. Here's 2. Here's 3. You see them? Okay. So the shoulders are about 3 times the width of the head. So I'm going to start with a triangular lump of clay and then just start squeezing, punching, shaping, poking, moving, mushing, nudging, bumping, modeling the clay until I've got, okay, I can kind of see a head coming out. I can kind of see shoulders. Does it look like a human being yet? No. Remember when we started the shoe? Or I said, make it look like it could maybe be a shoe. And then we worked on it a little bit more, and now it looks like a left shoe. And now it looks like a Converse All-Star left shoe. And we kept refining it, until we got more and more detail until it was that shoe. Do the same thing here. But again, it starts with the maquette, and we're going to figure out all the problems. We're going to solve all the problems, figure out all the proportions and the pose in small form, because with solid clay, it's really easy. If I'm looking at this and I don't see a neck, I can just pull out some clay, and now I'm starting to see what looks like could be a chin. All right, and now I'm checking my diagram here. I'm noticing the neck curves. So the chin juts out, the neck curves in. So I'm going to get that neck curving in a little bit. And I'm looking back up here. I'm seeing the top of the head starts to curve, bulge out a little bit. Do I need to add some clay to make that happen?
Yes.
There I go. So you can add clay, you can take clay away, you can smush clay around. The front of the face, or the face itself, is, remember, kind of flat. So I'm going to flatten that out a little bit. And you guys are sitting kind of far away. You want to watch this on video later, you'll have a much better view. So the shoulder's a little wide. So I just took some clay off. I'm glad you said that, Danny. What do you mean by that? You said something doesn't look right. Can you point to the part with your finger? Can you put your finger on the part that doesn't look right now? Where? I missed it. The chin? It's too what?
It's too pointy.
Too much. It comes out too much, right? And I can check here and find out. Oh yeah, that chin's coming out too much. So what do? Just take some off. And so what Danny and I just did, I want you guys doing as you work. In fact, I'll call out every once in a while and say, turn to your neighbor and have them check your piece. So when you do that, show them what you got, and exactly that. Point to a part that looks out of whack, and then tell them what needs to be done to change it. Look at your mugshots, your actual mugshots, the photographs of yourselves, and the side view, the profile. My question is the head directly above the shoulders, or is it, that's one, is it directly above? Two, is it slightly forward? Or three, is it slightly behind the shoulders? Show me with your fingers. You gotta look at the picture. One, is it directly above? Two, is it slightly in front of? Or three, is it slightly behind the head, the shoulders? It's okay. Come back. Not everybody's showing me fingers. I'm asking a question. Is the head directly above the shoulders? Is it slightly in front of the shoulders? Or is it slightly behind the shoulders? The answer is two. Right? Everybody. Look at your picture, Danny. Show me. Turn. Yeah, your head is in front of. You see your chin comes out? Your head does not, the back of your head does not stick out past your shoulder. So, anyway, it's really this simple. The trick, again, is nothing about your hands and the clay. All I'm doing is smushing clay around. What you need to really focus on is the observation. You know how to do this. You did it with the shoe. Adjust, check. Find something, adjust it, check it. Find something else, adjust it, and check it. Once you get the form and proportions about 90% accurate or better, and this is about 90% accurate or better. You know, the head is not a basketball. It's got kind of an egg shape. Chin starts to come to a point. Right? The front of the face is slightly flattened. The top of the head rounds back. It bulges out in the back. It curves in at the bottom. The neck turns back outward into the chest. I'll let the voicemail get it. Hold on.
Just keep rolling.
It's still recording.
Lift up the picture again.
We'll edit that out later. Needle tool.
To be continued.
Yes. Unpause. So the last things I'm going to get on here are my eye level line, which is where in relation to the chin and the top of the head? Halfway, remember? So there's the top and the bottom. Here's halfway. So there's my eye level line. I'm also going to do the central axis. And so the goal is to get this figured out by block day, sometime during block period. This is the hard part. This is where all of it has to be figured out. And it has to be figured out perfectly. So you can't walk up and say, yeah, but when I do it, when I coil build it, it's going to be different. No, show me exactly what it's going to look like when it's coil built. Because then we can find, identify problems and come up with solutions to those problems while it's a small scale, where it's really easy. Say if I want to have the head turned and looking upward, right now all I do is that. If I was making that decision as I'm coil building, I'd have to unbuild things, I'd have to cut the head off, I'd have to dart, I'd have to add things, I'd have to reattach it. It'd be a whole mess, right? So this is where we're going to do this kind of stuff. And you can give your head some gesture. And what I mean by gesture is that nonverbal communication, that body language. It is possible to communicate without using your mouth. But it's not required to do much in terms of the straight up head, because that is definitely the easiest to engineer. Once you start bending the head and tipping it, you get some balance issues happening, which require some complex engineering to get the thing to not collapse. And by the way, if you're coil building and your piece collapses, what happens? Yeah, you started. Yeah, you had a temporary failure. We'll move forward, right? But anyway, we'll talk more about coil building when we get to the coil building. This is about making the maquette. Again, 90% accurate in terms of proportion, pose, And what was the other one? Form. You guys ready? Okay, go to it. I'm gonna come around and check on you guys.